Hey everyone, I just got back from Comic-Con in San Diego. I am completely exhausted, but I wanted to show you guys all of the cool Star Wars stuff that I saw there. I don't know if they've released the total head count for this event, but in previous years it was around 130,000 people that come in and out. The entire area surrounding the convention center just completely shuts down. Just hotels are packed, restaurants are packed, bars are packed, but it never felt unmanageable and I had a great time. This is mostly a channel that focuses on Star Wars action figure collecting, so we're going to take a look at all of Hasbro's new offerings before we look around the rest of the convention center. We see the new Star Killer PulseCon exclusive figure, which will be coming out later this year, with a whole bunch of alternate heads and hands, which is pretty rare in the Black Series. Next we have Darth Malgus, one of the largest Black Series figures I've ever seen. I can't think of any that have come out that are larger than this. I've seen in-hand photos of him in some other countries, and so I think he'll be releasing pretty soon. Next we have Darth Maul Old Master from Battlefront. This is on Star Action Figures now, so this should be releasing very soon as well. The Magna Guard and Season 1 Ahsoka have both been very highly anticipated figures in the Black Series. I'm excited to see these finally coming out. The Magna Guard looks okay. I think it's more of the pose that kind of makes it look a little silly, but Ahsoka looks great. The face printing on this prototype looks a little bit off, but I think the sculpt is there. The General Grievous with the battle damage, not too exciting. We have the Return of the Jedi 40th figures, which I will have a review up on my channel probably by the time you're watching this video. They have the Luke and Vader in the same pose that they were at Star Wars Celebration, and I am still not sold on this Vader head, but again, I do have these in hand at home now, so I'm going to review those after I finish this video. Here's a look at Fives and some of the other clones that are coming out soon. We have some figures from the Kenobi series. I've never really cared for the Force Ghosts. I think this Mythos-inspired Obi-Wan look looks pretty good, and then this Anakin head is just amazing. I think they did a really good job with that face printing. We see Omega here with her alternate head from the Bad Batch. I have a review of the other Bad Batch figures on my channel, so I'm not showing them here. Black Chrysanthemum has not released yet. I got the TVC figure at the Hasbro Vault, which we will see a little bit later in this video, but I hope Black Chrysanthemum releases soon because that figure is just absolutely amazing looking. The Tusken Chieftain took a little bit of a tumble here, but we get a better look at his face and some of the sculpting there. And then this Pike Soldier I'm pretty excited for. I'm working on a 3D printed speeder for them right now. This is one of the very few figures from Mando Season 3 that has been revealed so far. Then we also see R5-D4 in the Mandalorian packaging. This of course is a retool of the old R5, just properly scaled, and it looks pretty good to me. This is some of the vintage stuff that is on display at the booth as well as at the Hasbro Vault, which again we'll see it in a little bit. Then they have the new Jabba's Palace playset with the newly revealed Jabba the Hutt section that you can add on there if you want to make it original trilogy versus the Book of Boba Fett version. Then they have a case with a lot of the TVC stuff, some unreleased stuff, as well as some stuff that has come out already. A lot of these booths are kind of geared towards the casual fan and not the hardcore collector, and it's kind of a trade show as well for just professionals in the industry to come see what Hasbro has been up to, so they're trying to cover a lot of bases here and showing off a lot of different lines and that sort of thing. They also always do a panel at these conventions, and they reveal a bunch of new figures, and then immediately after they walk out to the booth and put them on display, so it's pretty cool if you get to go to the panel. You can immediately go see them in person, and all the photos, get shared online. It's a really fun little event. Other than the Star Wars Black Series, I've also been covering the Indiana Jones Adventure series on my channel, so this is Wave 3 that has not released yet. If you want to see more about the other waves of indie figures that were on display here, I have reviews of all of those on my channel. Comic-Con is usually much more big brand focused, and the smaller creators aren't as showcased as much. But luckily, my friend Centerpoint Studios was there with some dioramas and custom figures that he has made. Those are my hexagon stands that he's using, which is awesome. But it was really cool to run into him and see some of these figures and dioramas that I've only seen on Instagram. It's always cool when you get to see that in person. But you could go check out his page. He will be linked below. Again, that is Centerpoint Studios. So Lucasfilm always builds out a huge booth at these events, and they have a lot of their licensed brands like Hallmark. And then on the other side, they have some costumes and props, which we will look at in just a little bit. It's really expensive to have a booth at Comic-Con, so the larger booths are usually reserved for giant brands like Lego. In this case, they did a little Blockbuster Video thing where you can make your custom video cover and put it on a wall. Of course, we're going to look at the Star Wars sets that they had on display here. They had some custom dioramas. Mostly they were displaying sets that you can buy either now or in the near future, like that kind of cursed giant Chewbacca that I've seen a lot of people making fun of online, and this Yavin 4 set, which looks really cool with the original trilogy figures. I want to make sure I give you a good look at that from the front. I'm not sure if the Ahsoka sets are out yet, but they have those on display as well. I love the hype leading up to a show, how you kind of start figuring out little aspects of the show based on the characters that are included with different Lego sets and stuff like that. It reminds me of the hype leading up to the prequels when I was a kid, and like poring over copies of Entertainment Weekly. They had a lot of props and costumes on display from the Ahsoka show, actually just one costume, and then all of the lightsaber hilts. These are absolutely beautiful. The prop team does an amazing job. They had a Lothcat on display, which was pretty cool to see. They also had small models of Ahsoka's ship that they may use for filming or just for reference for CGI. There's even a little mini Ahsoka in the cockpit there. They had some of the concept art on display, really showcasing all of the amazing artists that work on the show. And this was a big feature at Celebration in London, but they had the giant mural with the Rebels crew on it that we see both in the animated series and in the live-action show. It's amazing to see the level of detail that goes into these lightsaber hilts and the helmets, because, you know, sometimes you might not even see them up close in the show at all. But these are just the best people in the business working on these, and it really shows. And getting to see them up close is just so cool, because, like, I make dioramas. I've poured over so many screenshots of the original trilogy and the prequels, and it's like you're always just looking at these low-res images. Getting to see stuff up close and really appreciate the detail is just always amazing. Especially with a psycho murder droid like Chopper. Here are Ahsoka's hilts. Again, just so fun to see those in person. And the costume itself, I have the Hot Toys figure, I have the Black Series figure, I have the Vintage Collection figure. I've seen this costume so many times in the palm of my hand, so it's cool to see the actual one on display. I did get to see this at Celebration last year, but I will never get tired of looking at that. Tamashii Nations and Bandai, they have the Figure Arts line, but from what I understand, they're not really allowed to sell Star Wars Figure Arts in the US because Hasbro has the exclusive license, at least to the 6-inch scale. But they have some of these samurai-style figures on display. I might be wrong about the exclusive license, I forget where I heard that, but at all the conventions I've been to, I've never seen Star Wars Figure Arts on display. They've always just had this one particular line. And I don't know if this Darth Maul was ever released. I think this might just be a prototype. A lot of times at trade shows like this or conventions, they will just show unreleased prototypes, even if they have no intention of ever releasing them. It's just a way to, like, kind of get those out there and show people. Kotobukiya has this art effects line of statues. They're really pretty to look at. This Cad Bane really impressed me. Overall, I'm not too crazy about statues. I really prefer articulated figures. I like that they can change over time, you know, you can pose them differently. There's something cool about the statues, some people really like those, but I'm not a big fan of, like, the bases under the figures as well. But if this is what you're into, here is a good look at those. And I always stop and look at this Battle of Endor. I think it's so well painted and so cute, but I just don't know where I would put it. Tamagotchis are back in full force, and they had a couple on display there. They also have an artist alley where they have a whole variety of artists, some with very small tables, some with giant booths selling prints. I thought these paintings showcasing reflections of different characters and the helmets of other characters were pretty cool. It's really rare to find small toy shops that come and have booths at San Diego Comic-Con specifically. It's mostly giant brands like Funko that build out these entire cities, and all the smaller booths, I think it's just not worth the price for them to come. I always prefer looking at the smaller toy shops that have booths at the conventions, but it's fun to see things like this EFX Collectibles booth that does these amazing helmets, as well as some lightsaber props and other little miniatures. But we are going to take a look at some of the smaller booths as we continue the video and walk around the floor a little bit more. Hasbro makes Black Series helmets that are around the $125 range. These were more in the $600 plus range. I think you can kind of see the difference. These look a lot more like the actual props and costumes that were on display over at the Lucasfilm booth. They're not mass-produced in the same quantity, so they have a lot more personal care taken on them, and I think if I were to display a helmet, I'd rather spend a little bit extra to get one of the nicer ones. I picked up this little AT-ST with Chewbacca that was a con exclusive from Hot Wheels and Mattel. I don't know too many people that collect the Star Wars Hot Wheels vehicles. I feel like the Micro Galaxy Squadron has just kind of taken over that market. They have these weird Beast Kingdom Luke and a Han that look like they're from the Team America movie. I did actually buy those, so I can't really complain. This Darth Vader that I wanted, but it was sold out, but I think he's on Amazon. There was a Disney publishing booth that had a little Star Wars book section. I did find a booth that was selling some Black Series stuff, but the prices were crazy. They were charging $300 for that Han Solo exclusive, which goes for about $60 online. I found something really interesting at this local comic shop's booth. First, I saw the Mafex Return of the Jedi Vader for $200, which is not really what that one goes for. The Rogue One goes for about that much, but that's getting re-released. But they had these prototypes that are actually like early production runs of the figures before they have paint, and then they put them into the boxes that they would eventually come in. They were charging about $200 to $250 for those. There was another booth with a bunch of Hot Toys. The prices were kind of all over the place. Some of them felt fair, some of them felt a little bit high compared to even what the figures go for nowadays. Star Wars Outlaws is the upcoming video game from Ubisoft. I'm so excited about it. They had a really cool loadout that was super popular the whole weekend. They had this cool Stormtrooper helmet, and then they also had this speeder bike that you can go sit on. There was a screen behind it, so if you took a video, it would look like you're actually, speeding through whatever planet that's supposed to be. I've always wanted to check out the Denuo Novo booth. They have helmets from a bunch of different price ranges, usually around the $600 range. Amazing weathering on the helmets, really beautiful work. Some of them were more for like cosplay and very light. Some of them were a little bit more heavy, meant for display. They also sell this First Order Stormtrooper armor for, I think it was around $1,000, which was a lot lower than I expected for like a fully built suit of armor from a company like that. If I ever did cosplay, I would want like a really nice set of Stormtrooper armor, probably just the classic original trilogy look. Heroes and Villains brand were part of the Lucasfilm booth and just had an amazing selection of Star Wars stuff. I think they do some of the best fan-related clothing. This booth is really cool. I bought some stuff here last year. They have a bunch of figures just arranged by price, so it's super easy to kind of know what you're looking at. Then they had some of the carded figures out on the table. The actor Chris Bartlett was also there. He plays a lot of different droids on The Mandalorian and other Disney Plus shows. Diamond Select Toys, they make a lot of the busts of the Gentle Giant stuff. I was never really a big fan of those, but I love the retro action figure Darth Vader and R2-D2 that they have outside the booth, life size. As you can probably tell from this video, I enjoy looking at anything Star Wars, so it was cool to see this giant display case here with a ton of different Diamond Select stuff and Gentle Giant stuff. Since I don't really like the statues and busts, it's nice to be able to see them in person, because a lot of times at comic book stores and stuff, you just see them boxed up and you can't really tell what they look like, and since I'm not going to be buying it, I don't really get a good look at them. So I always enjoy booths like this. We're going to jump back to the Hasbro booth because they put out some more stuff after the panel. Apparently I wasn't the only one who was interested, but they had the new Sabine from the Ahsoka show as well as Hera. The new Pez Vizsla on the Jango Fett body actually looks better in person than I think it does in photos. I was really happy to see how that looked. And then of course the HasLab Ghost was revealed. It's cool to get to see this in person right away. There's Chris and June from the Hasbro team. There's the interior of the ship. This is already funded, so over the next couple of weeks we'll just have to wait and see how many of the tiers we unlock, the tiers in this case being all the different figures. Then Jazzwares had a pretty cool Hoth display with that AT-ST. I'm tempted to get it, I just don't know where I would put that. And then a lot of the other Micro Galaxy Squadron vehicles and some of the minifigures on display. Some of the only convention exclusives that I was interested in were these black and white Micro Galaxy Squadron storyboard series figures. They only made 500 of these for the entire convention, so I didn't even bother trying to get one. They're all going for like $150 each on eBay currently, so I'm not going to be getting those. But Hasbro opened up this pop-up shop called The Vault. I made an appointment ahead of time and rushed over there when it was my time, just to find that it was like almost completely empty and pretty small. They had a lot of classic toys celebrating 100 years of their company, some Star Wars stuff on display that they were cycling out at the actual convention. This is about a few blocks from the convention. Some more of like the lightsabers and helmets that you can check out, but nothing too exciting compared to what's actually on display at the booth at the convention. They did have some of the convention exclusives here, so I actually picked up that Black Chrysanthemum TVC figure with the extra accessories. So that was almost everything Star Wars that I saw at the convention. It would be impossible to capture all of it. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you were new to the channel, and I'll see you all next time.